Okay, back on the Philharmonic stereo. I was communicating with a YouTube member 45 player, who's also a member of one of the Facebook antique radio pages, and we were discussing this Siemens selenium rectifier. And he did tell me that those are bad about going weak. And he also told me that my B+ voltage on the first filter capacitor should be in the neighborhood of around 140 volts or so. And we only have about 120 there. So I think just for good measure we're going to go ahead and replace this with a 1N4007 silicon diode. And we'll place an appropriate resistor ahead of the diode to drop the excess voltage, because a selenium rectifier has more voltage drop across it than a silicon diode. So if you use a silicon diode without the resistor, your B+ may actually be too high. And generally the resistor value will depend on the circuit, but generally anywhere between say 10 ohms up to say 32 ohms, somewhere in that vicinity. You just have to do some experimentation to find the one that works best. So let's take care of that now. Okay, here's what we did. We wired a 47 ohm resistor and a 15 ohm resistor in series because I can't really get to the parts house today, so we're making use with what we have. Now if I was able to get to the parts house, I'd just buy a 68 ohm 5 watt resistor, because that's what gets our B+ voltage close to what it should be. And another thing, the original filter capacitors were rated at 150 working volts, which sort of pushes it, because even when this thing is warmed up and under load, we're kicking out around 140 volts B+, and our initial turn-on surge voltage is around 170. So I used 200 and 250 volt filter capacitors. That way we have plenty of room there for safety. And I'll demonstrate. When I turn this on, you'll see the surge voltage, the B+ voltage, jump up to around 170 until the filaments warm up. And then you can see it drop back down as the tubes warm up and place a load on the power supply.
Work with hunters in the community, asking them to donate venison. We work in conjunction with the local deer processors. They're a huge help, and of course an integral part of what we do.
And there we are, 143 volts. That's close enough to the target voltage that we're looking for.
Processing fees. And
okay, we're back together. Well, not actually back together, but we have that rectifier replaced, and I touched up the IF and RF alignment a little. And notice we don't have an outdoor antenna connected anymore.
They on their preaching that they were successful. Jonah didn't think he was. Do you think you?
I can see the breaking. God is.
It don't matter.
I'm easy like Sunday morning.
these three guys help us out, and they help us out tremendously.
1942, Eleanor flipped her wig about Geico saving her moolah on her motor.
And you know what? People that talk about how bad AM sounds are generally basing their opinions, most likely, on listening to a modern AM receiver that really has just enough circuitry in it to pass a signal. If they were to hear a properly maintained AM station on a vintage tube radio that was made back when AM radio was king of the hill, they might feel differently about it.
This time, they're making it even better. Come in and catch 2%.
hunters by your group.
Unfortunately, a lot of the stations around my area are not very well maintained.
What happens to him?
Turning around.
Okay, I've just replaced this 680 ohm resistor in the power supply. I would have preferred a nice new flame-proof resistor, but since all we had was an old resistor that had been cut out of something, and it actually read right on the money, I went ahead and stuck it in there. This original 680 ohm resistor, as you can see, is reading 800 ohms. So that is definitely out of tolerance, and will cause your power supply voltages to be lower. And one thing about these old radios, a lot of times they'll often work, but if you do a bunch of little things to them, they work even better. All of these little bitty problems add up to make bigger problems, so you want to correct them all. Now here's our cathode bias resistor for the output tube. It's supposed to be 33 ohms, orange, black. However, 49.5 ohms, so let's call it 50 ohms. Well, guess what? I don't have a 33 ohm resistor of this wattage in stock, and like I said before, going to the parts house is out of the question today. So let me show you what we're going to do. I wouldn't recommend doing this for something you're going to fix for somebody else or for a long-term repair, but it'll get you by in a tight. Okay, I now have a 100 ohm resistor wired in parallel with this 33 ohm resistor that's actually reading 50 ohms. Let's see what the meter says now. How about that? 33 ohms. Now, whenever I took electronics, they taught us all about parallel resistors. And if you have two equal value resistors, say two 20 ohm resistors in parallel, you have 10 ohms and your wattage doubles. So if you're using 1/2 watt resistors, you'll end up with a 10 ohm 1 watt resistor. But when resistors are of different values, there's a formula for that. And honestly, I haven't used the formula since I took electronics in college, so I'd have to go look that up. So I just made an educated guess of what a good resistor value would be, and the first guess I made was correct. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend doing this to something you would want to last for long-term periods of time, or for something you're fixing for somebody. But for a temporary repair or on something you don't want to spend any money on, as in the case of this thing, this is more of just something to have fun with, then, you know, it'll get you by. Okay, there we go. I think that'll about do it. The only other problem is this output tube is weaker than this one, because it takes longer to warm up than the other one, and I've confirmed that by switching the tubes around. It's not something we have to immediately replace. And here are all the capacitors that are all leaky that came out of this unit. And this one is the across the line AC capacitor that the end blew out of, no surprise there. And I replaced it with a modern AC line safety capacitor.
Help make it a Merry Christmas for everyone. The Alf Louise Radiothon on News Radio 1200 WOAI.
Here we are back together, working good as far as the radio goes. Sorry about the poor lighting. It's after dark and the lighting here in the shop is not the best, or at least not in this part of the shop.
Burdens alone.
We're under the brick and steel of a non-distance.
WMOX. This is the Dave Ramsey Show. Thank you for joining us, America. It's a free call. Some say they're
balanced.
What you pay for it. The phone number is 888-825-5225. That's 888-825-5225. Or you can go online at Dave.
And for more perspective on
in the Jefferson area on US 129 southbound at Highway 332. We have an overturned tractor trailer working there. Floyd Hillman News Talk, WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Kirk Mallers with advanced most accurate, dependable forecast. Scattered showers.
Still not the most sensitive radio I've ever had my hands on, but
60% overnight.
It's a lot better than it was. Okay, let's try the phonograph now.
With fog and showers, 70% likely out.
Set it to stereo phono. And we're still very distorted on the phono, so that means our cartridge is likely shot. Okay, let's see if the automatic function even works. Kind of got my doubts. Nope. So it's going to need some cleaning and lubrication. Okay, here's our radio.
Credit cards.
Here's our phono for comparison.
Put cash in an envelope, spend the cash, make a list, check it twice, stay on the cash basis, and you will not overspend. How fun is that? Oh, it's just... Pointer is this.
And you can't see it very well, but this is one of those cheap crystal cartridges that has the little fork style needle. The whole cartridge flips over for LP to 78. So I'm sure that's what the trouble is. Well, what happened here? Now the arm won't go down. Always something with these things. Okay, so this is what happened. The little thing that holds the counterbalance spring decided to pop loose. But okay, we're about out of time for this video anyway. We have the radio working successfully. And in the next video, we'll tackle the record changer. Okay, there you go. Thanks for watching, and more to come later. It's December the 21st, 2013. And it's around 80 degrees here in Mississippi with severe weather predicted for later on today. But before that severe weather gets here, let's see if we can make this little early 60s RCA AM radio play again. First, let's see what it does. Getting a little hum right off the bat, which is strange. Normally the tubes have to warm up before we get any hum. We have bad filter capacitors. But we are getting some reception.
This loans approval desk now. 800. And still making every... It's true. But they are now...
Okay, let's fix this.
Getting close in Ukraine.
And here's the inside, just a basic 5-tube AM radio on a printed circuit board. Here's our filter capacitor that's bad. Has a 1963 date code on it. So we'll say this is a 1963 model. I don't even know what the model number of this radio is because the sticker has disintegrated. I think this radio has gotten wet at some point in its life.
Mornings at 5:30 and evenings at 6:30.
Okay, here we are back together.
Gospel Radio, 1390 AM and 93.1 FM WMER.
It actually has a pretty good tone to be a cheap 5-tube radio. We need to clean that volume control.
Let your heart be light.
Well, we have some squealing going on.
Well, that's not new. That's not new. He's just
Okay, let's see what's going on with the squealing.
Not a new guy doing old things.
Old style. I like. And you know what? He has brought new style to that. He has brought new style to that. Yes. You didn't come, did you? Did you come?
I didn't go last time because we were in Houston for a game.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Michael Bublé over football over Michael Bublé.
Yeah. I think even Michael Bublé would say football over Michael Bublé.
I think he would. I think, in fact, you're the only man alive who
Okay,
would
let's
say
clean these sockets and the volume.
Even every step of the way.
Okay, I cleaned the volume control as well as the tube sockets. I also resoldered the tube sockets. That didn't really help our intermittent squealing that much, but I believe that was caused by this defective 12AV6 tube. I've now replaced that tube and
he drives it. Kathy stands his ground.
don't have any more intermittent squealing and crap going on, so that's a good thing.
First two by FIU.
There with your kids, and you were making signs in your kitchen, and you would bring them to teach. They had to mock you.
There is hope rejoicing for yonder break.
But in scriptural grace, we're going to focus in on verse number 11, verse number 12, and verse number 13. And I want to give you three things that a scriptural grace produces individuals.
Having government employees run it is the wrong approach. Database.
Well, I didn't catch it in time, but we have a capacitor fixing to explode. Whenever I turned the set off, I could hear a capacitor sizzling. It's this joker right here, hot as a firecracker, with juice leaking out of it. So I guess we'll need to replace that capacitor while we're at it. What do you want to bet that's the capacitor that's connected across the AC power line? And you can see the wax leaking out of the capacitor onto the printed circuit board. Okay, this capacitor that was about to explode, a 0.047 microfarad, is located in kind of an odd spot. One side of the capacitor connects to the hot side of the AC line. The other side of the capacitor connects to the plus terminal of the first filter capacitor. Usually the line bypass cap is connected either straight across the AC line in the case of these types of radios, or in power transformer equipped sets from one side of the line to the chassis.
High definition color printing, document management.
Okay, I think that did it.
Digital archiving.
And now we'll analyze the bypass capacitor that was just before rupturing its guts. On the 25 volt range, it's reading extremely leaky, as in almost dead shorted. Let's just check it on the ohm meter and see what it reads. And on the ohm meter, on the 20 megohm scale, we're not reading anything. That's just proof that these capacitors often don't misbehave when checked with a small voltage applied to them, as in what would be coming out of this ohm meter. However, when tested on an old capacitor checker that will apply high voltage for testing, they'll show their true colors then. And here's the same cap on a modern digital capacitance meter. It's supposed to be 0.047. It's reading 0.084, which when one reads high on one of these modern capacitance meters, that's usually an indication that they're very leaky. However, I've seen leaky caps test okay on one of these meters, so there once again you really need something like this to test these old capacitors accurately. And now analyzing this filter capacitor, I'm testing the 70 microfarad section. We're only reading 4.4 microfarad, so yeah, it's obviously bad. And now the 30 microfarad section reads 2 microfarads, so obviously bad too. And on the old capacitor tester, it's not even registering. If this was a good capacitor, I'd get some eye deflection whenever I set the dial to the correct value. We're not getting anything. But yeah, I always like to prove if the parts we remove are actually bad from something, even though the performance results had already proved that. But always best just to prove it again on test equipment.
80% said it would hurt.
Okay, we're back together and working.
The law, as you know, requires most Americans to have health insurance.
The grace of God calls us to put off the old man and put on.
I think that must be WDIA out of Memphis.
9% said getting health.
Go ahead. Are you sure? What began as an original dream became a supreme worldwide phenomenon. Now the legendary Mary Wilson comes together with fellow Motown superstar Suck.
Stone Derby. Mike, you're on.
Wilson.
I think that's WSM coming in weekly. Okay, there you go.
I would suggest that
the 1963 RCA Victor radio repaired and ready to go.
You need a mayor.
Thanks for watching, and more to come later.
I would also like to suggest, since the